So IAC is not a new product or a newly invented product, I feel, because it was an old one, but name, we used to use ghost images for Windows, and we used to use customized images for Linux, whatever it is. We used to do that when we work on physical servers. So it's not a new one. But now the IAC has been redefined, and we have a lot of improvements in the code, and a lot of tools has been introduced where we can use a lot of tools in IAC. So IAC is also a part of DevOps profile. So if you see and see what is IAC, the idea behind the infrastructure as a code is you write and execute the code to define, deploy, update, and destroy your infrastructure. The same simple, very simple example, very simple definition, I can say it as where you can create your infrastructure, you can update your infrastructure, you can destroy whatever it is, the infrastructure by executing a code. Code means a simple program or whatever it is. So as the profile DevOps, the basic requirement of DevOps is automation, or you write everything in a code. That is one way of automation. So using IAC infrastructure as a code, I can manage my servers, databases, networks, log files, applications, whatever it is. So almost all infrastructure related things can be managed by IAC tools. There are different types of IAC tools available in the market, broadly categorized into 5 types. Those are ad hoc scripts, configuration management tools. You people very well know about it. What is configuration management tool? Server templating tools. Maybe some of you people may have worked on it. Server templating tools. Orchestration tools. Very well know it. What is the orchestration tools? We use it in our DevOps profile. Provisioning tools. And provisioning tools also, maybe some people had experience on it. Provisioning tools. Let's learn a little bit more about all these tools. The first one is ad hoc script. What is an ad hoc script? So being a sysadmin or a Unix administrator or Windows administrator or network administrator, whatever you call it as an administrator. So when you got a requirement of to do some particular task, so we write a shell script, or we write a Python script, or we write a Ruby script, whatever it is, what you know, or a PowerShell script. Those scripts, we call it as ad hoc scripts because those scripts solve the specific purpose at the time. Suppose I have a requirement to take all the log files from so particular date, so I can write a script to so and so date. I need a log file. That is an ad hoc one. That's not a regular task. So ad hoc scripts can be written using your programming languages like Shell, Python, Ruby, whatever it is, whatever the operating system supports. So I given a simple example of ad hoc script here. So my script simply does is it is going to install and it's going to start Apache service. So any questions? Thank you. Next one is configuration management tools. We all very well know about what is configuration management tool. The good part of it is we are still using it. The famous one are Puppet, Ansible, Chef, where we use quite a lot in our regular job. So all this comes under configuration management tools. So configuration management tools comes under IAC. So I wrote a small playbook using Ansible. Hope you all know it. It's going to install a couple of software, PHP, Apache, and start the Apache. So basically, maybe much explanation may not be required for this since we are all well known about configuration management tool. So the best examples are Puppet, Chef, Ansible, SaltStack, and you can use it. Couple of cloud services are also there where you can use those as well. How exactly the Ansible works? A simple diagrammatical picture. The script playbook or role runs by Ansible software or a command where it is going to deploy into multiple missions. Hope you find the difference. One difference I found is ad hoc scripts are executed per server basis. This we are executing as a bunch of servers. And the next one is server templating tool. This is very interesting one. Let's have a little bit explanation on this because maybe I don't know whether you have an experience on this or not, but let's see. An alternative to configuration management tool that has been growing in popularity in recent are server templating tools such as Docker, Packer, and Vagrant. Hope you people know Docker. I can use Docker Compose, Docker files to build a Docker Compose, Docker file, Docker. Sorry, I'm getting it wrong. Yeah, and Packer is a tool where you can build the customized images by customizing everything. Suppose I have a Red Hat image, which is from Red Hat, so that I can add my customizations to my Red Hat image, or I can do my server hardening to my Red Hat image, maybe based on my company's policies. Then I can deploy a new image based on all these customizations using Packer, so that the customized image, generally we call it as golden image. So the golden image can be deployed on all Red Hat missions on my server, so that everything, whatever I need it, going to be automatically installed. Yeah, someone has some doubt? Okay, come to second one. Instead of launching a bunch of servers and configuring them by running the same code on each one, the idea behind the server templating tools is to create an image. That's what we are discussing. Okay, image of the server, then capture the fully containerized snapshot, we can say it as a golden, whatever it is, of the operating system and software files and relevant details, and deploy into the destination mission. This is server templating tool. The best examples are Docker Compose, Docker, Packer, and Vagrant, where we are going to take the customized image and going to deploy in the destination server. So the small diagrammatic information or representation. So I had a Packer script. What it is going to do? A template. The Packer template is going to use the Packer software and going to take the server image and use Ansible to deploy. See, let me explain you a little bit here. Why do Ansible come into picture again when we have a server templating tool? The Ansible does a little part here. Instead of doing all the configurations, the standard configurations will be done by using Packer. As I said, an industry standard ISO will be customized to my requirement. Based on my after the requirement, maybe if there is any specific project requirement need to be installed on the server, so that or an application need to be installed on the server, then I can go for an Ansible. So this is a good combination, I can say, where you want to deploy your image. Guys, any question? Someone is typing in chat, I hope.
We can take question after complete explanation. That would be like nice flow. Then that's what I think.
Fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So you already know it.
I hope recording started, right? It is not showing in our screen.
It started actually.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Yeah. So these are the ones which we can say the different technologies can be used for images, where I can deploy it. I can deploy my virtual machines. Maybe I can take a VMware virtual template. I can deploy it, or a container where we can use Docker. I can deploy it. The next The big one, the orchestration tool. I hope not much explanation is needed because you all know about what is Kubernetes and how exactly it works. So best example is Kubernetes for this. So why we need an orchestration tools apart from server templating tools? I have a couple of points here. See, when I got a server, but how exactly the server grow or scale up or scale down will happen, or how exactly the health monitor should be done. So all these are practical problems. How exactly the load balancing should be done. So all these cannot be done by using server templating tools. So I have to use a different tools mechanism. So that is orchestration tool. As I said, the famous one is Kubernetes, and the next slide I have a sample Kubernetes deployment script where I removed a couple of steps here to show it out. The next one is the big one, which is our topic actually, provisioning tools. The provisioning tools such as Terraform, CloudFormation, ARM templates, and OpenStack Heat are responsible for creating the servers themselves. So what exactly it means? So I can use this provisioning tools to provision my infrastructure as a bunch of code. As a bunch of code. Please remember this, as a bunch of code. Maybe different files or whatever it is, maybe on different platforms, maybe on cloud or maybe on VMware. So maybe, yeah, even we can use Ansible as well, also into some part, but Ansible is not preferred as a provisioning tool. So there are a couple of drawbacks here. If you want, I can explain you what are the drawbacks in Ansible. So the provisioning tools are not only the create servers, but also databases, caches, load balancers, queues, monitoring, subnet configuration, firewall settings, whatever it is, socket certificates, and everything, whatever you need in your infrastructure. So if I need a database, if I need an server, if I need any security certificates, any firewall requirements, any networking requirements, everything can be automated by using provisioning tools. And the best examples are Terraform, CloudFormation. Terraform is a universal tool. It supports multiple clouds and multiple, whereas CloudFormation is specifically for AWS, ARM is specifically for Azure. But to be honest, I don't know much information about OpenStack Heat. Okay, maybe third-party tool may support OpenStack. I'm not quite sure about that. Sorry. A sample example in Terraform. So we'll go into it, how exactly is going on. So just for your information, how exactly a small code will be written in the Terraform. Again, how exactly the Terraform works. The Terraform, I will write my Terraform configuration file or a Terraform script. I use Terraform software to execute it. Based on that script, the Terraform chooses which cloud need to be taken, or if we took a cloud, and which resource need to be taken from the cloud. Now come to our topic, Terraform. There are a lot of key components in Terraform, but for easy understanding at this moment for this section, I took only two. One is provider and next one is resources. As we discussed, Terraform supports multiple cloud providers and multiple private cloud providers as well, like VMware, public cloud providers like AWS, Azure, GCP, Google, or Oracle, or IBM, or DigitalOcean, whatever you call it as, whatever the cloud service providers currently in the market. So I should say to my Terraform which cloud it is or which component it is. Suppose I want to deploy my Terraform script or a Terraform code into my AWS. The Terraform need to understand that the code belongs to AWS. If I want to deploy in Azure, the Terraform need to understand the code belongs to Azure. So the provider represents where is my destination, what is my destination. So my destination is AWS, I give provider as AWS. If my destination is Azure, I give provider as Azure. If my destination is Google, I give provider as Google. So the provider defines where exactly the code need to be deployed. maybe on cloud or VMware. Resources is the main part. After you choose the provider, maybe I choose AWS. Once I choose AWS, then I have to choose what exactly services I need to deploy in my AWS cloud. Maybe EC2 instances, maybe VPC, maybe subnet, maybe a DynamoDB table. Okay, whatever it is, whatever the services provided by AWS. So I have to deploy using Terraform. So these are the first very important key components for the Terraform. The provider, which shows where I have to deploy. What is the provider? Who is the owner? Who is the organization? Whatever it call it as. If it is an AWS, I give as provider as AWS. If I come to the previous script, this is the example for the resource. So I am using a resource of here. I am trying to build an EC2 instance where it is going to take the instance type as T2 micro, and this is like how we define a resource group or a block. As I said, key components, and we need to know some of things for every programming language or any technology. So Terraform uses HCL language, which is from HashiCorp language. It was supported by HashiCorp, which is behind written in Go language. So the parent of this language is Go. Current version is 0.12.24, and this is third one is very important point. The scripts were written in Terraform are called as configuration files. See, if you write a program in Python, we call it as Python file. We call it as shell file. If you write a bash file, as if you write in shell prompt. So same way, any script, any code written in Terraform files is known as configuration files. They are not called as Terraform files. They are called it as configuration files. Okay, Terraform configuration file has .tf extension. All Terraform files will end with .tf extension. So Terraform is a single executable file. So when you download from HashiCorp site, and if you extract the file, it's a single exe file. So Terraform supports multiple OSs like Windows, Linux. I can install on Mac, Windows, Linux. Whatever the OS, I can use it out. It's an open source product. This one I can take it a little bit later, okay, because this actually are the rules need to be followed when you write a Terraform script. So I'll take this one a bit later so that you can understand better. Next, there are different stages in Terraform. Stages. What exactly is the stage? So I can say that I wrote my script for my AWS or Azure cloud. So what I have to do after that? I have to deploy my script to my Azure cloud. So to deploy my script to Azure cloud or AWS cloud, I have to follow different stages in Terraform. The first stage is initialization. What exactly this initialization is? The initialization means, hope you remember maybe 2 or 3 slides before, we talk about the provider and resources. The provider. So I choose an AWS as my provider. So Terraform, as I said, is a single executable file. It needs plugins to operate for the cloud. So Terraform doesn't come with any plugins. It doesn't support anything AWS or Azure in the initial stages. So we need the required plugins to be downloaded for the Terraform format. If I use provider as AWS, then Terraform automatically downloads AWS required plugins. Why do I need those plugins? The plugins will have all the resource information. As we saw the example that creating an EC2 instance, as I said, the first line, resource AWS instance. Don't worry if you don't understand the script right now. Okay, a resource which is AWS instance. So this AWS instance is an AWS keyword, which is used by Terraform to say for its internal purpose that understands that if I found this keyword, it means that I'm going to do some specific action. The action is to deploy an EC2 instance. So these keywords are mentioned in plugins. Every cloud provider has its own plugin. Azure has its own plugins, AWS has its own plugins, whereas GCP also needs plugins to be installed. Installation means a simple one. I can say it as download the required provider plugin. Next, validation. Validation, as the name says, I'm going to validate my Terraform configuration file for any syntax error. Is my syntax is perfect for the Terraform to execute? So it's like a validation step. Next is plan. What is plan? Terraform is an idempotent product. That means once you deploy any resources into the cloud, if you run the same script again, it is not going to disturb anything. Since